As someone who first watched the Harry Potter movies and later read the books, it's amazing to see that even within 8 films or 1,178 minutes of runtime, there were still characters and stories left untold. Although the main story captivated us, it's the sub-stories that keep us coming back time and time again. One story that deserves to be told is that of Neville's parents, Frank and Alice Longbottom. From the films, we know that Neville's parents faced a terrible fate and that Neville desired with all his heart to make them proud. But what exactly happened to his parents? Why was Neville raised by his grandmother? And why was Neville so affected by the Cruciatus curse?
Stop it! Can't you see it's bothering him? Stop it!
Frank and Alice Longbottom met as students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Although their official Hogwarts house is unknown, from their multiple acts of bravery, we can assume they, similar to Neville, may have been sorted into Gryffindor. Both Frank and Alice were of pure blood descent. They were exceptionally intelligent and often excelled in their classes. During their time as students, Frank and Alice expressed interest in becoming Aurors in the future. Their desire to fight against evil brought them closer together. After graduating Hogwarts, Frank and Alice got married and became well-respected Aurors. During this time, Voldemort and his Death Eaters were growing increasingly powerful. Death Eaters had been attacking mostly Muggles and Muggle-borns, but they soon turned to attacking half and full-blood traitors. In response to this, Alice and Frank joined the original Order of the Phoenix. The Order of the Phoenix was a secret society established by Albus Dumbledore, whose purpose was to battle Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters' increasing threat to power. Frank and Alice played a vital role in the Order. They were responsible for many captures, arrests, and the imprisonment of many Death Eaters throughout the First Wizarding War. For this reason, they became very well known and earned the wrath of Lord Voldemort. In early 1980, Albus Dumbledore met with Sybil Trelawney in the Hog's Head to discuss an open divination teacher post at Hogwarts. During their encounter, Trelawney shared with Dumbledore a prophecy that would change the lives of many. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal. But he will have power the Dark Lord knows not, and either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. Severus Snape, who at the time was working for Voldemort, was caught eavesdropping on Trelawney and Dumbledore by the owner of the Hog's Head, Aberforth Dumbledore. Snape then returned to Voldemort to tell him what he had heard, but because Snape was apprehended before the full prophecy was told, he was only able to report part of the prophecy to Voldemort. On July 30th, 1980, Frank and Alice welcomed to the world their only child, Neville. At this time, Lily and James Potter, which were also members of the Order, welcomed their son Harry to the world on July 31st, 1980. Both babies were born as the 7th month died. Voldemort, aware that there were 2 boys that met the requirements of the prophecy, chose Harry as his target. Like him, Harry was a half-blood, while Neville was a pureblood. Voldemort believed that if one of the boys posed any threat to him, it would be the one who was most similar to himself. With the whereabouts of the Potters provided to him by Peter Pettigrew, on October 31st, 1981, Voldemort located and murdered James and Lily Potter. When he used the killing curse on Harry, it rebounded and seemingly obliterated his body. Voldemort had been defeated for the first time. Now, in his disembodied state, he went into hiding into the forest of Albania, where not even his Death Eaters were able to find him. After Voldemort's first fall from domination, many Death Eaters dispersed and attempted to return to their normal life. Many claimed they had been under the Imperius curse, while others stayed true to their master and continued his work. 4 Death Eaters who managed to evade capture by the Ministry were determined to find their master and return him to full strength. Bellatrix Lestrange, her husband Rodolphus, his brother Rabaston, and Barty Crouch Jr. targeted both Frank and Alice Longbottom for information about the whereabouts of Voldemort. The group was convinced that the Longbottoms were involved with the Dark Lord's fall because they were included in the prophecy. Frank Longbottom was the first to be captured. He was imprisoned at an undisclosed location before being heavily tortured by all 4 Death Eaters with the Cruciatus Curse. Unaware that Lord Voldemort had fled to Albania, Frank could not give them the information they wanted. However, this did not discourage the 4 from trying to uncover Voldemort's whereabouts. The torture resulted in Frank being so physically and mentally depleted that he spiraled into insanity. When he was unable to provide them with anything useful, they targeted Alice. She was kidnapped and tortured in the same manner and suffered the same fate as her husband. All 4 Death Eaters were captured shortly after the attack and were brought before the Council of Magical Law for trial. The crime was described as so heinous that such crime was rarely heard of in court. All 4 Death Eaters were sentenced to life in Azkaban. Alice and Frank were deemed insane, losing their capability to function in society. They were placed in a permanent ward of St. Mungus Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries. They would reside in St. Mungus for the rest of their lives. Due to the inability to care for their son, Neville was raised by his fraternal grandmother, Augusta Longbottom. Neville regularly visited his parents for Christmas and other holidays. His parents did not recognize Neville on these visits, but they understood that he must be someone special to them. Alice often gave Neville chewing gum wrappers, which he kept as a way to remember his mom. Now knowing the tragic story of Neville's parents, it makes so much more sense why at times he felt insecure in his abilities. Being the son of 2 of the best Aurors definitely carried a great deal of weight, and it's no surprise why it was so important for him to make them proud. I'm sure that although they were never able to recognize him or understand how important Neville's role was in defeating Lord Voldemort, Neville definitely made them proud. Let me know your thoughts on this part of the story down below. What other things would you say were left out that you wish would have made it into the films? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.